Welcome back to the Transcend Company podcast. We've got a pretty special guest today. Serial entrepreneur, professional bodybuilder, cookbook extravaganza. We got Coach Greg. Welcome to the podcast.
Happy to be here. Are we talking about Mike Israetel today?
Might as well. Let's get straight into it. So he called you a psychopath.
A sociopath.
Sociopath.
And a cocksucker. And a lot of other things. A two-faced loser. Every name in the book.
Damn. Are you taller than him? He seems like he's short, right?
We're exactly the same height.
Okay.
I've met him in person. He's a 5'6" manlet, just like me. You'd think he'd be more, considerating of my feelings, being the same height. We have to go through the same things. We're both bodybuilders. We both believe the same in about 95% of topics. We think eye to eye, but for some reason he just hates me that much.
That's weird. I feel like that's a lot of the fitness industry, though. Like, do you think he actually hates you?
Oh, he absolutely hates me.
It's not just a YouTube
I've never seen anyone
that
I'm like, usually people get like a certain amount of like drama online, but then you see him in person. It's like, hey, it's for the views. But with this guy, it's like, no. We've only met in person one time.
That's
he
weird.
ambushed me at the Olympia, and he makes fun of my voice. He's doing a whole thing. I'm like, hey, it's for the views. It's cool. So I'm game. I'm going on with and I'm laughing. And then as soon as the camera stopped, I'm like trying to talk to him, and now he takes off. And I'm like, I thought we were gonna have a good chat. Like,
that's crazy. Does he hate, or did he come out and say he hates anybody else, or is it just Greg?
He started the video by saying I don't like Joel Seedman, and then quickly went into because Greg Doucette this, and this. So he kind of dislikes Joel Seedman, but he hates me. Unreal.
Interesting. Well, speaking of social media, like, I've been following you for a minute, but when did you start?
2006 is when I first started putting videos.
Wow.
I was just trying to show off.
Yeah.
I was like, I got a big bench press. I'm going to just post videos of how much I can bench press. I didn't think there was such a thing as subscribers or followers. I just wanted a way to show people how much I could lift.
Jeez. Because you've done powerlifting and natural bodying and normal professional bodybuilding.
I've done everything.
Everything?
I've
That's
done it all.
nuts. That's crazy. Which one would be?
Mike Israetel.
And exactly. And you do endurance with biking.
I did 13 years of triathlon, so I started that at 13. I really enjoyed that. I like pushing myself against anything. I think because I like competing against myself so much, I enjoyed the pursuit of bodybuilding and powerlifting because it's basically you against you. Yeah, you're competing against somebody else, but really it's like, did you get in condition? Did you get to sub 5% body fat? Did you give it your all? Whatever place you get's the place you get. Yeah. I really don't care.
Yeah, that is the hard part about bodybuilding. It's a lot more up to the opinions of the judges rather than like an endurance event or some other events that are just strictly powerlifting, for example. You have to hit those weights. If you get the most weight in that category, you're going to win type thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'd rather on powerlifting day set a PR and get last place than win and lift 5 pounds off my best. Because why do I care about winning? Winning for me is lifting more than I've done. So it was always about the improvement.
That's awesome.
Same as bodybuilding, really. If I show up a year later and I got 5th place, but I put on 5 pounds of muscle, I won. I really don't care about the placing. And so for me, bodybuilding, the pleasure I got from it was the journey towards a stage. The actual day of the show, standing on stage, hitting the poses, being compared. I didn't really like that part that much, but the challenge and how hard it was, I really love that. It's like climbing Mount Everest. I just love the challenge.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, let's go back to Mike for a second. Do you think you could beat him in a bodybuilding contest?
Today, no.
No?
At my best, I would have beaten him, absolutely. I mean, I'm an IFBB pro. He got 6th place, so... I have actually placed as a pro one time.
Yeah.
I got in the top 5.
Damn.
But I wasn't a great pro. I was mediocre, or weak, like the young kids say, mid. But, it was all right.
It's not bad. Well, I did a lot of research on you, but your natural physique was pretty incredible. Would you say you have above tier genetics?
Elite level genetics. And people think I'm showing off by saying that. They think it's like, oh, he's bragging how good his genetics are. I'm literally taking away the power that I had, like the dieting, the hard work that I put in, and saying, I was lucky to have really good genetics, obviously from my parents. And so because I had the genetics, I was able to build a really good physique natural. And I stayed natural as long as humanly possible. I trained over 20 years natural. And then when I couldn't get any more gains, I was at my natural genetic limit. I said, hey, it's time to do something, because I wanted a pro card. I had won the nationals, the drug tested nationals overall. I'd won everything natural that you could win, but no pro card. And so that was the next step. I wanted to be, an IFBB pro, and that was the only way to do it.
Jeez, that's incredible. Well, I was a dumb kid, like 17 and 19. I did all the SARMs, all the pro hormones, everything. I messed myself up pretty good. I would go back and probably not do that. would you, I know you want to get that pro card, would you ever say, hey, think about your past, I shouldn't have gone on all that stuff, I shouldn't have gone on steroids, or do you think I did that for a specific purpose, I got my pro card, I'm happy that I did that?
You know, every year I reflect on what I've done in my lifetime, and until, I would say the last 2 years, I never had any regrets. I was like, hey, I won my pro card, it was all worth it. It wasn't until I got older and I started thinking about, I don't want to die young. And it's like, was it really worth it? And what allowed me to transition from being a bodybuilder, because the reason I bodybuilded and the reason I took steroids really was because I was chasing the dopamine. When you see your body get better and improve all the time, it's very addictive.
Yes.
I kept getting, I was so good at it. I think I'm the national champion, I'm a world champion, drug-free. I'm getting better, everyone's complimenting you all the time, and I'm loving this. And so that's why I took steroids. And then all of a sudden, wow, I gained another 10 pounds, 15 pounds, I'm keeping on going. And so eventually though, that stops. And I'm like, but now what?
Yeah.
I can't up the dose anymore. I've already maxed out. I mean, I could have done the insulins and growth hormone at the highest level, but I was like, I gotta stop.
Yeah.
I transitioned into bike racing, and now I like bike riding as much as I like bodybuilding. I literally only go to the gym 2 or 3 days a week and lift weights.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
But I bike ride almost every day.
That's nuts. So you think, I mean, you're, I guess, full body trained about 3 times a week is what you said?
2 to 3 days. Every 3 days, I'll do a full body workout.
Damn. And that, I mean, you're still massive. Now you're able to stay with the muscle mass you have. You think just keeping it the same?
Because I'm on HRT, it's surprising how little you need to maintain a certain level of physique. I'd say about, I probably train a third of what I used to, but I can maintain, like, I'm around 186 at 187 pounds, but at my biggest I was 232. So I'm a lot small, like that's like 50, I mean, I'm getting on 50 pounds smaller. But I probably lost 20 pounds of muscle. I'm a lot leaner because obviously I burn off so many calories on the bike. And so, yeah, for my height, if you look at my fat-free mass and all this stuff, I mean, I have a lot of muscle, but compared to what I had before, it's a lot less.
Wow. Damn. Well, I got a good scenario for you. So you've coached thousands of people. Let's say there is a natural elite genetics person like you.
I've found him.
Better
than I've got him. I'm coaching him now.
Damn. Do you think he, just on creatine, protein, all that stuff, against a normal person with all of transcends peptides, all the gear you could possibly take, who do you think would win?
The best natural athlete's going to destroy a guy on growth hormones, steroids, tren, you name it. You give the best coach in the world and give that athlete the best drugs with average genetics against the elite level genetics. The elite level natty is winning every day of the week.
That's crazy.
It comes down to the symmetry of the body, the bone structure. If you took Chris Bumstead, 100% natural, never touched anything in his life, and you put him on stage against me at my best on steroids, he would have beaten me.
Wow.
It's just a shame he started steroids at 18 because we don't get to see that, because this guy has 25 million followers. Everyone basically worships this guy, like, wow, but he's 240 pounds on stage. Picture him without steroids. He's still 200 plus pounds. He's still incredible. And so because he went on steroids at such an early age, we don't know what those kind of genetics could have done without the steroids. Yeah. And that's a big problem. People with the best genetics, they end up using steroids the most because you're encouraged to do so. Think of it, he's 18 years old. Wow, Chris, that's an incredible physique. If you take steroids, I bet you can get to the Olympic stage. And so what happens, they take them. And so the average person will look at my natural physique and think, why did you ever take steroids? I would trade physiques with you in a heartbeat. Why did you take steroids? Well, because my physique was that good. Yeah. And everyone said, Greg, for 10 years I heard take steroids. No. As long as I was making gains, I was happy. But once I got to my natural genetic limit, and after being told, take steroids for 10 years, if you take steroids, you'll be a pro, you'll get to the Olympia stage. I'm like, you know what? I'm starting to believe the thousands of people have been telling me to do so. Yeah. And you're not just... you're encouraged to use steroids. I was encouraged to do so for years. It was amazing looking back that I actually held out for so long. I'm surprised I didn't do so, in my 20s, because that's what everyone does. But when I grew up, it wasn't a time when there was as much pressure to use steroids and there wasn't as much available. There was no social media. I didn't swipe here and look at people. I go to my local gym and I had the best physique. I would go to a competition and I had the best physique. I would win overall titles natural against guys on steroids. So I'm like, why would I use steroids? It was almost a bragging right. I'm natural, I'm beating you and you're on steroids. And there was a lot of jealousy and a lot of hate for that. But one thing I just discovered was once I started using steroids, I actually got more respect. It's absolutely weird. Because people were basically like, they were haters or they're jealous. Like imagine they're on test, trend and everything, and I'm natural and I'm beating them in a competition. But once I came out and used steroids, I'm like, hey, are you guys on anything? No. I'm like, oh, really? I'm on 500 tests, 500 tren, this much D-ball, this much antibiotic, this much this and this. Oh, I'm on this and this, I'm on this.
Yeah.
And so everyone that was on steroids started to tell me what they were doing. And wow, at that point, I really started to learn about steroids and the use of steroids. Because I became somebody that people would confide in. Now, when I was natural, nobody told me what they're taking. It was rare anyone would admit to it. But once I became open about it, wow, okay, and then let me talk to you. And so almost, I would say minimum of 50% of the people that I coached were on steroids. And the reason they hired me was because they wanted me to tell them, more so than the diet, the training, the cookbook, all the stuff, what do I take to look like you?
That's crazy. And I mean, you can probably attest to this, but from what I've heard and what I've seen, a lot of professional bodybuilders use a lot less of a dose of the steroids that they take than the general population or normal gym bros you see in the gym.
I'm going to say that the average professional bodybuilder takes the same amount of steroids as the average guy trying to get a pro card, as the average guy trying to get to the level of the state. Like, you have your local level show, say it's your state level show, trying to go to nationals, and then nationals trying to go pro, and then pro trying to go to Olympia. I would say everyone is using roughly the same.
Okay.
The difference is the genetics.
So how they respond?
Yeah, if you look like a guy like Chris Bumstead isn't taking a higher dose than the guy that wants to be like Chris Bumstead.
Yeah.
The guy that's at the amateur level that wants to eventually be like Chris is using the same drugs. It's just Chris's genetics are better. So the misconception is, if you have let's say an average looking physique and you're on steroids, it's just because you're not taking a high enough dose. You take the next dose, the next level up, double it, and you're at nationals. Double that and you're at pro, double that and you're on the Olympia stage. It's not that. Most guys are taking the same doses. They just don't have the genetics to use those drugs.
Damn, that's crazy. You start thinking about all that type of stuff. But
it's saddening, and it's depressing for most people, because they want to think the reason he looks better than me is because he's on insulin, he's on growth hormone, he's on IGF-1, he's on this. But in general, it's just, no, they just have better genetics.
Yeah.
Like, my physique when I was natural looked better than 99% of guys on steroids. And the reason I know that is because I beat 99% of the guys on steroids in competitions.
Jeez.
So, and it's just, I call it luck. I lucked out that I had good genetics, and it wasn't that I was that big, it was that the shape of the muscle was good. Like, Chris Bumstead would beat me as a geared up guy. Chris natural, I know he would beat me. He has that small waist, the wide shoulders, the clavicle width, the best genetics for it, and that's why he's the champion.
That's nuts. And I guess, speaking of genetics, in professional sports, I guess, like people like LeBron James, do you think that's genetics, or do you think they're taking some form of, I guess, sort of PED / do you think there's a place for performance enhancing drugs in actual professional athletics like basketball, hockey?
When you take the best athletes in the world, I always say it's genetics. People are going to say, no, it's hard work. There's millions of athletes that want to be LeBron James. And if you filter it down and you get to the top 1,000 of those, like, all of them are working their asses off. Every guy that's at that top level is training and working out really hard. There might be some that are not going quite as hard. Every one of them, they might say, oh, Michael Jordan trained harder than this guy trained. They're all training extremely hard. Yeah. Very, very hard. And so the difference that's separating is the genetics. And part of that genetics is the mental component, like David Goggins. Not everyone has the ability to push themselves the way that he does. Not everyone has the ability to push themselves the way that I do. I have an obsessive amount of ability to push myself hard. I used to do triathlons, used to do 20 hours of cardio a week. I enjoy the pain and the suffering. It makes me feel good that I'm suffering more than someone else. And so I lean into that. So when somebody says, how do you go for a 10-hour bike ride? Well, the fact that most people can't is telling me that at 9 hours into it, I like it, because I know most people would have quit by then. Yeah. How did I get down to under 5% body fat? Why is it that I always showed up in condition? Because I knew that I'm going to outwork all of you guys. I might not have the same genetics. You guys have more muscle than me. You look better than me. But you're not going to get leaner than me, because that comes down to the effort you're willing to put in. And I enjoyed knowing that I'm suffering more than you. And that made me feel good.
That's awesome. That is incredible. I mean, a lot of people don't, I guess, talk about the mindset as well. I guess transitioning into business. You have multiple different businesses. You're traveling all over the world. You're still in fantastic shape. What would you say that the main component is from a mindset or just daily routine? What allows you to do all this stuff and be successful in all these different avenues?